edition of the Walpole Business Spotlight Show. My name is Harry Brusades, and I'm your host. And I'm also the president of the Walpole Chamber. And this show is brought to you through the efforts of the Walpole Chamber and Walpole Media TV. My show today is to bring into spotlight two candidates that are running for selectmen in Walpole. And the election this year is going to be June 3rd. So I'd like to introduce to you Tom Brown. Tom, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Harry.
And Ann Ragosta as well. So if I could, let me start off by getting to know more about you guys, and as well as our viewing audience. Ann, we'll start with you.
Sure. I grew up in Hyde Park and got married 23 years ago. I think we're coming up on an anniversary. My husband and I moved to Walpole about 17 years ago with our baby daughter. We have 3 high school girls right now. One, my oldest, is heading off to college.
Where's she going?
She's actually going to Louisiana State.
Excellent.
You know, warm weather, warm climate. We went and visited the campus, and I loved it.
Your son went to?
I have 2 sons.
One
went to Holy Cross.
Yeah, and the other one's down south.
And the other one's at the University of Alabama.
Okay. My daughter went to South Carolina. They're all going down south.
The climate.
It's the big thing.
You can't beat it.
Sure.
So, and I love the campus.
They don't have to shovel snow down there.
There you go.
So, so that's my family.
Yeah.
And so for myself, I am a CPA by trade and training. I don't work in public accounting, and I haven't for many, many years. I work for the federal government. I am a fraud investigator, and I've done that for 25 years now. So that's sort of my strength, investigations.
Very good. Tom, what do you do? Where are you from?
I grew up in Dorchester.
Okay.
And after growing up in Dorchester, I joined the Marines when I was 18 years old. Shipped off when I just turned 19. And then after the Marines, met my wife, and we ended up getting married 25 years ago.
Congratulations.
And we have 2 sons, and one of my sons is just recently graduated Holy Cross. The other one is a freshman down at the University of Alabama. And we moved to Walpole 19 years ago, and I run a business. I am in the heating and air conditioning business. I have a gas fitter's license, an oil burner technician's license, a master sheet metal license, and a refrigeration license. I'm also one of the water and sewer commissioners here in town. That's about it, really.
Okay. And Ann, you're also on the personnel board as well?
I am. I'm an RTM for Precinct 3, and
okay.
I am on the personnel board.
Give me a little quick snapshot of what your duties or responsibilities are on the personnel board.
Sure. Prior to being appointed to the personnel board, I sat on the finance committee for about a year and a half. And then when an opening came up on the personnel board, maybe 2 years ago, I was appointed to the personnel board, which is a 5-member board. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It's given me a lot of insight into how a lot of decisions are made in the town, particularly obviously with the personnel issues. And personnel is one of the driving factors of our town budget. Obviously, it's 80-ish% of our town budget. So the board has some authority. It's but being on the board, what it has opened my eyes to in particular is that a lot of decisions in town administration are made by fewer people rather than more people. And, I think there's sort of an echo chamber. But the personnel board does get to look at, a lot of the personnel action requests and things like that.
Okay. And Tom, being on the Water and Sewer Commission, what experiences or things have come out of that have got you to run as well?
Well, on the Water and Sewer Commission, I'm one of 5 commissioners. We vote on all sorts of matters involving our water and sewer infrastructure, permitting, rates. We get a lot of things on new construction for all these little developments and big developments actually around town. They're always coming in front of our board with their plans. We discuss them. We offer changes to the engineering department at Town Hall, and pass on our concerns, and it's very enlightening, actually. You know, I ask a lot of questions, I offer up some alternatives, and it's very good. It's been good for me to help the citizens of Walpole, the ratepayers especially, and I've had a pretty good experience so far with that.
Okay. So you're, again, both running for town selectman. Again, the vote is June 3rd. I'll continue to remind people of June 3rd is the election this year. And you're running for the 3-year seat?
I'm running for the 2-year seat.
And you'll be running for the 3-year seat.
Yes.
And you'll both be separated, I believe, on the ballot. You know, there'll be a section for the 3-year position and a section for the 2-year position. So, and what would be the first and foremost issue that you're concentrating on within your campaign to promote to the residents of Walpole?
So I actually have 2 important issues, but what's driving me to run are actually the ever-increasing real estate taxes in town. But because I think that's more of a symptom of a problem as opposed to the problem itself, the underlying factor for that, I think, is I want to be on the Board of Selectmen because I think the Board of Selectmen serves at the pleasure of the taxpayer, and and I want to open communication between the Board of Selectmen and all town administration and the residents of the town, the taxpayers. I think there needs to be more input from the residents of the town as to decisions that are made. Again, just from looking from the inside of how decisions are made, you know, being on the Finance Committee, being an RTM member, being on the Personnel Board, you see that a lot of proposals are made or movements that are decided by a few people, and I don't think that the administration communicates in an open and transparent way or any substantive way. You know, I think by the letter of the law, there's, you know, the open meeting requirements, and, you know, people could come to the Board of Selectmen meeting, but I want to change the culture, not just of the board, but of the Board of Selectmen in particular, because I think that's what flows down to the culture of town governance and town administration. And I want to change the culture, I want to change the philosophy, and I want it to be driven by what the people of the town want. And when decisions are made with more information presented to the people and getting more input for the people, and, you know, I'm sure there's going to be some topics that you'll be asking us about in a little bit where processes are begun and the decisions are almost made by the time it gets to town meeting, and people are voting on things where the inertia's already been, it's like a tidal wave, and when you're at town meeting and you are questioning or probing or wanting to say no, you're labeled a naysayer or the voice of no, when in fact whether you're a Board of Selectmen or an RTM or any of the boards and committees, your first duty is to represent the people of the town. So if you are saying no or questioning for something, it's because you want to know more about it and you're acting in the best interests of the townspeople that you're representing. And I just want to do that.
Okay. Tom?
Well, I'm running for selectman because from what I've seen and experienced, especially in the last 7 years, it appears to me that there is a spiraling out of control tax growth in town. Just in 7 years, the property taxes have gone up like 36%. Okay, and that can be accessed from the Department of Revenue website. I believe that we don't need to always go to the 2.5% increase every single year just because we can. Okay, I think we can work within our budget. We have over $100 million to work with. I think we can work with that. I mean, I think I established myself back when I ran for water and sewer as a stop the waste guy. I'd like to take that mentality that I have with stop the waste, and I actually use that in my business to run efficiently. And I would like to change that, ask questions, offer up some alternatives, and see where it goes. Have some open dialogue. I don't see that now.
So question on the budget. You know, I hear that that number that's thrown around is $100 million.
Yep.
And 68% of that's going to go to the school, give or
Right.
take.
70 now.
I know it's
if
gone
I'm not
think
back
it's
and
mistaken.
70.
forth. I've heard back and
It's
forth.
70%.
But then I just saw the finance report that came out that was mailed to all residents, and I think it was closer to 80 million and then 60 million. I wasn't getting accurate information on that.
Well, I would say that would be because there's a total lack of transparency, obviously.
Well, again, from the surface level, the average Joe walking down the street, that's what we're all hearing is $100 million is the budget.
Right.
But I think there are different ways that they appropriate funds or borrow money, et cetera. So,
Right. Well, I think to piggyback on what you're saying, there's a variety of sources for the spending. So in terms of taxation, that would not be 100 million, but there's other reimbursements from the state,
okay.
the revolving funds.
Sure.
So the spending has hit 100 million. And I might add, because I'm, again, an accountant by trade, I've been scouring, the balance sheet for 2006 to 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And the town's long-term liabilities have increased 100%. The long-term liabilities have gone from 50 million to 102 million.
That's something I was going to ask you.
Yeah, and I don't know what makes that up yet. I'm working with Town Hall to get that information because they're audited financial statements, so they don't go into sort of the nitty-gritty. I don't know if it makes up the OPEB. I don't know if it's all of our long-term debt, but 100% increase in 10 years in long-term liabilities is significant, as well as, Tom talks about our real estate taxes have increased by
36%.
30 odd percent. Our water rates in the last 7 years have gone up 35%. So when you add up everything that it costs to live in this town as a taxpayer or in a water user, it is unsustainable. And when I talk about the taxes that has driven me to run as a symptom, it is a symptom of a problem, and we need to get to the nuts of the problem. Right? Then there's many solutions, but it is crushing. And I know this because I've talked to people. It is the taxes in this town are crushing people. They're crushing retirees. They're crushing people on fixed incomes for whatever reason they're on fixed incomes. And Walpole is a wonderful place to live. I think we can all agree on that. Small town, town government, that's a rarity in town. Our location, our physical proximity to 95, our proximity to the commuter rail. The people in this town are really, in my mind, what makes the town. But if you can't afford to live here because you can't pay the taxes, having the nicest town in the area doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the person who has to sell their house because they can't, and when I tell you taking out reverse mortgages, and I'm talking because I have talked to people who have helped the elderly work on the paperwork to do that. That's not right. I think the people that have lived in this town for, I'm a 17-year resident, but I see the value in keeping the town sort of flavor, keeping it and maintaining it, and in rewarding the people who have lived here their whole lives, in not punishing them. So, anyways, I'm sorry if I sound
No, that's fine.
passionate.
So, I mean, that kind of gets me to ask about, the question, what makes Walpole different? And there's a number of things that makes Walpole different. And now when we talk about economically, we're dealing with other towns that have similar budgets, and we'll talk about less taxes real estate-wise, but more services, but they have a larger commercial tax base than we do. So we have to make up that tax base by putting it on the backs of the homeowners through, the residential tax rate. So how, when we talk about solutions, how can we make Walpole more business friendly? I'll go to you, Tom.
That's a very good question, and I would like to also capitalize on what Ann had to say about the growth of taxation, how people are hurting. I'm out there talking to people, especially the seniors. They just can't sustain it. I've talked to people in town that can predict the day they can no longer afford to live in their home, okay? Are the taxpayers in town going to be able to afford to live here in the next 5 years when your property tax has increased 25%? If we're on that same trajectory as we are now, it's just not sustainable. We need alternatives. We have to start somewhere, okay?
Yep.
I would like to start with zero-based budgeting, some operational audits. Maybe all departments should have operational audits, right? Definitely zero-based budgeting. We have to start somewhere. If we could save a couple of dollars somewhere, we could do it. And as far as the town, the budgeting of the town to all the departments that we currently have, like you mentioned, somewhere between 70 and 80 million dollars goes to the school system. Well, all the other departments in town share that other 30% if we're going to use 100 million as a benchmark, okay? The rest of the town needs attention too, okay? Police department, fire department, parks and recreation, highway department. I mean, they all need attention.
Sure.
And I think we can work with what we have, but we need the zero-based budgeting. And I'd like to see if we could decrease the school budget and give some more to the police department, the fire department, the highway department, the parks department. They need it too.
Okay.
And just look around town.
Absolutely.
They can't maintain the ball fields that we have.
What would you think about trying to have Walpole really and truly devise a master plan for Walpole specific? You know, there is a master plan that's been put out there, but it was more Norfolk County that would be used for a number of different towns. And again, with Walpole being different, I think Walpole needs to get a long-range master plan, whether it be 5 years, 15 years, 30 years, exactly where we're going to go with this town and what it should look like. As you've heard me talk before in the past, a big thing for me is being the advocate for the business owners as well as the community, but pushing the infrastructure redo on 1A, trying to give some type of allowances for new business owners coming in to start their business here, incentives, exactly. And another thing is the Ponset River, which is probably more of a state thing, and we won't go there because we don't have a lot of time. But you know, that's kind of where I come from. So would you support an individual Walpole master plan?
So there was a master plan from 2004, and the lack of economic growth or business growth was one of the top. There were 22% of the town responded. So the tax burden was a big concern, and the second concern was the lack of business growth. I personally am a huge advocate for business. I mean, there's several reasons for that. I think that the more business you have in your town, whether it's the small person working out of their house, working out of their shop, they offer nothing but benefit to a town. Because businesses use little, I would say almost zero infrastructure other than the roads. They contribute to jobs. I mean, every single, you know, you can only contribute to employment in a town if you're not staggered under huge regulatory expenses and huge tax burden.
Right.
And so, you know, I think when you're talking about businesses, right, you're talking about all the way from the small sole proprietor that is employing himself to employing a few people, all the way up to, you know, the Siemens type. You entice people to come to your town, A, by having, you know, a crime-free town, which I think we do have, proximity to the highways. But you're right, you need to have tax incentives to encourage, because businesses, if I had a business, the first thing I'm looking at is where can I operate the most efficiently and cheaply, right? You know, in a good location. Walpole is a good location as far as its proximity to 495 and 95, but we need to streamline the process. And I'm just very quickly give you a quick example. I looked at the February 1 Zoning Board of Appeals minutes. I just happened to pull them up, just to pull something up, just to take a peek. There was a petitioner coming before the ZBA about signage, and it was as of, I think the petition was denied in August or October of 2016, and they're still coming up before the ZBA to say, well, all of this, you know, you say we have too many signs on maybe one board, But we need all these signs because they're all the businesses in this particular location. What the heck is going on that a petitioner who people shouldn't have to beg to...
Well, I know in downtown there's like a grandfather clause where like the Mexican restaurant's the only one that can have a sign that is faced this way as you come down the street. Everything else has to be up against the building.
Right.
But there are things like that, master plan, future, that we should be thinking about where let's ease up a little bit on some of these restrictions.
You know,
let's have Walpole look like a saloon Western style place.
Right, no, but there's a balance. I mean, you know, there's a lot of competing interests, right?
Yeah.
But there's obviously a balance. The overarching statement of, you know, conforming with the neighborhood standards, that covers a lot of ground. And you can do that and keep your standards up and remove a lot of the minutia of these arcane and archaic regulations. Just even the fact a couple of years ago at a town meeting, and I'm sorry to take, stop after this, but they put limited site reviews for people who have daycares in their home, for like driveways or something about cars entering and exiting. That is, and I spoke against that at a town meeting, and I don't understand what would possess someone to even come up with that idea for someone who's running a daycare for 6 children. But
Right.
you know, to get to the point, tax incentives,
Sure.
I think are huge. I think we entice good, clean businesses to, you know, along 1A, along Route 1, to the extent that there's any areas left. We should be enticing people to our South Street location when we had that cleaned up, super fun site.
Sure.
You know, I mean,
Sure.
there's a whole host of opportunities for businesses that don't strain our infrastructure.
So,
Could I reply with that?
go right ahead.
I would just like to, again, I would like to capitalize on what Ann had to say. And Town Hall does have its purpose, okay? But unfortunately, I believe that Town Hall has overreached with regulation, and they are not very helpful to prospective business entrepreneurs that want to open up businesses here in town.
Sure.
Just recently, I worked with a couple of new business owners here in town, and frankly, I'd have to say they got almost no support from Town Hall. It was absolutely a horror show
And they
for
pay
these
for the
people.
service, right?
Exactly.
You're paying for permits, you're paying
Yeah.
fees.
So,
You're
I mean,
paying for a service.
I just think that they've lost their way with the citizens and the business owners of Walpole. We need to make Walpole open for business.
Absolutely.
That would be a great sign for the
Right, that's
coming
a,
into town.
that's a
Walpole is open
campaign
for business.
that we're trying to direct through the Economic Development
Right.
Committee or Commission and Walpole with the Walpole Chamber.
Right.
So that's something that's in the
Yeah.
works.
I am also a member of your Chamber of Commerce. And,
Of our, not mine.
no, not yours, but the chamber. But I would also like to see if we could maybe publicize a class or maybe a night or a meeting for prospective business owners that want to come into town. They can meet with the people that do the zoning and the permitting and all that.
It's come
meet
a
with
long
people.
way.
You know, have some.
2 years ago, it was.
Just give them a whole package.
Sure. No, they have it, Tom,
Every
they have it.
step is not a surprise.
No, I agree. Liz Dennehy is doing a good job down there. And there is a packet for new business owners, but we do encourage any new business owner to get down there, introduce themselves, tell a couple people what they're looking to do, and then reach out to the Walpole Chamber and let us be their advocate and go with them to Town Hall and sit down with them and try to get everybody in the same room at the same time versus the other issues.
And I know
that have
that's
come
hard
up.
to do with Town
Right.
Hall. I mean, people are busy, you know, so.
All right, so we need to just keep going here.
Okay.
Walpole New School, High School. Quick answer on that.
No.
I am a no on that.
Okay.
And can I just say very quickly?
Jill?
Has anyone, there's this movement afoot to put a new high school at Byrd Middle School. Has anyone from town gone and asked the people in that area that it's going to impact directly? Have they mentioned it to them? Have they brought up to them and say, what are your thoughts on a new high school here?
Sure.
Where you're going to lose your soccer fields, you're going to look at concrete, you're going to look at asphalt. Has anyone done that? And that's exactly why I'm running.
Okay. I do not know.
No, I
you?
know. That is the
Okay.
it's the open question.
Right.
I can tell you from the people I've spoken to that would directly impact over there.
Sure.
The answer is no.
your answer to, do you support free kindergarten in Walpole?
I do not.
I do not.
Okay.
Do you want me to tell you why?
Would it be nice if we did have it, though?
It'd be
As
nice
an option?
It'd be
That
nice.
the school committee department could actually fund it themselves?
It would be nice if everything was free, wouldn't it?
Right. No,
But that's not
what
going
I'm
to
saying.
happen.
Harry, I
We
would...
can't keep on just footing the bill for everything. You know, free kindergarten, it's not a right.
Sure.
Well, it's
All right.
and it's a zero-sum game when it comes to the
It becomes
school
an
budget.
entitlement.
Sure.
Because when you're funding the extra half day of kindergarten, you're taking away from
Something.
something at the school,
Right.
some other program. So, you know,
Right.
I don't know the nuances of the school, but again, you're dealing with it. That is definitely a zero-sum game.
So where are we going to stop with these type of entitlements? Are we going to, what I would like to see, instead of full free day kindergarten, why don't we bring back home ec classes and shop classes, woodworking shop, sheet metal shop.
Sure.
That stuff was all cooking, sewing. That stuff was
Well,
all
again,
taught
the
before.
people at B look around to other towns and they have free full days kindergarten. That school has, so they all want to do the same thing.
But we
the
want to
next
keep
town
Walpole unique. We don't have to be like every other
over. No,
town around.
I agree. You know,
And I think, you know, to that point, I know people say the salaries in other towns and the free full-day kindergarten of other towns. I think it's important to get best practices from other towns, but again, with competing interests, it's what do the people of Walpole want? It's not what does the school committee want.
right.
It's not what do the teachers want. It's not what the town administrators, it's not what I in particular want.
Mm-hmm.
It is in that, I think it needs to come from, no one asks what the people of Walpole want.
Sure.
Everything is the echo chamber.
And
I
just
could,
to,
I could capitalize on that one as well.
before you go there, just to echo on that too, when we talk about what the people in Walpole want, that means that they have to come out for the election and vote
Yes,
June 3rd, because we've had
please.
very
Please
low
come out
turnout
and
rates.
vote.
So please, no matter who you're voting for, get out there and vote.
Because we
So
want to do the best for you.
We want to kind of wrap up. I'll give each one of you just a little over 30 seconds. Tom, if you want to kind of finalize with, again, who you are, what your hot button issues are,
Mike,
and why you be a
I'm
good
Tom
selectman
Brown.
in
I'm
Walpole.
running for the 3-year seat for
You can look at me
selectman.
still.
Excuse me?
You can look at me.
Oh, okay. And again, I'd like to just capitalize real quick on how the town does not ask the citizens what they really want. The seniors were promised a senior center. On the way out the door, they say, oh, by the way, you have to raise $1 million. I went to a fundraiser for the senior center. Believe me, you'd have to have 10 fundraisers a day. You're not raising $1 million, all right? They're being fed false hopes. I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
All right, they weren't asked about the design. The second floor on it, every senior I talk to doesn't want it. Keep it one floor, lop $1 million off the price, you got yourself a senior center.
Okay.
That's a big issue with me. I
So-
thought it was appalling.
So fiscal conservative, change town
The
hall.
seniors built this town, all right?
Yep. And you're for the senior center.
And I'm for the senior center, yes.
All right.
But not the way it was designed.
Okay.
And not asking them to come up with $1 million. That's just
Sure.
asinine.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your service, and good luck to you in the election.
Thank you.
Ann?
Thank you. I'm running for selectman because I don't want to just be a new voice. I want to be a real voice for the people. As a public servant for my work, my guiding force and my guiding light is to do everything in the best interest of the people who pay me. And if I was on the Board of Selectmen, it wouldn't be that they pay me, but I know that I'm there at their pleasure. And I want to make decisions based on what the people want, and that includes keeping this town affordable and changing the fiscal direction of where we're heading. I have a lot of ideas. I am a problem solver. You know, I'm not someone who looks for a solution in search of a problem. If there's a problem there, I look to see what causes it and how to implement a solution. But I think at the end of the day, and this is again my guiding light, what good is a town if you can't afford to live there?
Agreeable. Well, thank you very much for your current
Thank you so
service.
much.
And good luck on the election as well.
Thank you.
So I thank you all for viewing today. Again, the show was brought to you through the efforts of the Walpole Chamber and Walpole Media TV. Walpole Chamber does not endorse or support any one candidate. Our job here today is to get the information out to the Walpole voters and residents and business owners, so you can always make smart, educated decisions, whether it's buying a product or voting for the people that are going to run our town. I thank you for your time. Be well, be safe.